I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate and thank Professor Yuli Tamir on being of the first education ministers in the world to lead the integration of UN Convention on the Rights of the Child into education system. Can you please elaborate on this? Why is it important in your mind?
We believe that we should teach children from a very early age to respect their own rights. In each age group, we teach them those rights that are relevant to their own activities. We start with the right to privacy, with the right to state their opinion, with the right to protect their bodies. And we continue to develop their view of human rights to include civic rights and political rights in order to make them active citizens and young people who take responsibility over their lives.
Due to your rich experience in education studies, what would be the main challenges you anticipate in the implementation of children's rights into the school curriculum in Israel or in any other country?
I think the main challenge is that many of the teachers see children's rights as a threat. They see competition between teachers' rights and children's rights, and they assume, unfortunately, that if they are to respect children's rights, it somehow diminishes their authority. And one of the biggest challenges is to try and teach them how to deal with children's rights and how to see these rights as part of a larger view of human rights that include the teacher, the child, the parents. But this type of competition between children's rights and teacher rights seems to be the hardest thing and the hardest hurdle in order to allow a real curricula of children's rights to be integrated in schools.
UNICEF has a long history in education for development. What role do you see for UNICEF in this initiative in Israel?
I think the most important aspect of our partnership with UNICEF is that children in Israel understand that children's rights it's not a local matter, it's a universal matter. It's part of a universal right of all children in the world, and since we live in a society that is in conflict with its neighbors, it's a good opportunity to teach them about the rights of other children, of minorities in the society, of neighboring states, the rights of Palestinian children in Gaza. And when we confront these very difficult issues, very difficult to them because they are sometimes unable to comprehend the fact that children on the other side of the border have the same rights as they have. I think we teach them something more than human rights. We teach them something about the universal value of humanity.
In the light of your words about the teachers, I think also that children's rights constitute a threat on the teacher. Imagine that you are now speaking to teachers. How would you convince them that children's empowerment is in their own interest?
I think the way to convince teachers to regard children's rights as something that they value and that actually is going to support them as teachers is to think about a new environment where everybody respects everybody's rights, where rights are not in competition, though there are conflicts of rights, but there isn't a competition in the sense that if I have rights, you don't have rights. Just on the contrary, if I have rights, then I acknowledge your rights, and that they have an opportunity while teaching children about their own rights to teach them also about the rights of others, including teachers. Usually the way we do it is by trying to build a contract between the teachers and the children and the parents and the community about respecting everybody's rights. And in this contract, everybody has a place, everybody has a space that they can occupy, and from that space they can demand their rights. And teachers, if they get into this kind of discourse, they are more open-minded and more able to teach and talk about the rights of children or the rights of parents or the rights of anyone who threatens them in the community.
I want to ask you, do you believe that the teachers of the next generation will come out from teachers' education or teacher training with the right knowledge about all this issue?
I think we should prepare them during the work in schools, because unfortunately it isn't a major part of the curricula in the teacher colleges. So much of the work should be done in schools. It depends very much on the environment. If there is a supportive environment and teachers and parents together can talk about a way to incorporate the community in the school and then include the children in that community, that opens the door for this kind of dialogue. Unfortunately, the teachers don't come with enough knowledge and enough eagerness to pursue the issue of rights that will support a major move in the schools.
This is exactly what I was asking, if we can't anticipate it and bring the issue into the process of teachers' education during the 4 years that they are studying in the colleges. So
I think we can, but to be honest, I'm not sure that this is a major part of the training, and we are trying to build a more open-minded view, a more attentive view to children into their training. It needn't necessarily be the case that they are learning about rights. They're learning about the importance of respecting the child and letting them voice their opinion and working with children and seeing children as the center of their activities. It's not so much done in the language of rights. It's done more in a more pedagogical language of the importance of being able to have an open dialogue with the child, to listen to children, to participate in their own dialogue. So in many respects, they have the potential, but they need to acquire the language.
I wanted to ask you, why do you think it's important for an organization like UNICEF and Israel as a state to have a good, strong relation? What can UNICEF bring to Israel? What can Israel bring to UNICEF?
I think UNICEF brings to Israel the ability, as I said earlier, UNICEF brings to Israel the ability to view rights in an international context and to view children's rights in an international context. And that is something that is, I think, of great importance to Israel. What Israel can bring to UNICEF is a very special experience that is grounded in the particular conditions of Israel, where children's rights are violated by war, by terrorism, by ongoing conflict, and the kind of compromises that I think we all do in order to protect children, and sometimes by violating their own rights, but we do it in order to give them the kind of protection that I think is necessary under crisis.